All righty, and we're live. Um, so everyone, this is J.R. Curtis. He's our guest tonight. He is uh, a horror author. So far, all you've written is horror, right? You've
Yeah.
written, yeah, two Western horror novels.
Sorry.
So we have Bloodletting.
Yeah, we go.
Yeah,
Bloodletting.
Bloodletting and Satanico.
Yes.
And I also read, Jr., that Bloodletting, which we loved. We finished. I finished this a long time ago. Becky finished it a couple days ago, and we had a great time with this book. I mean, I'm a huge fan of westerns.
Yeah.
Oh, you are you? Good.
Yeah. Grew up watching them with my dad a lot, so love westerns. Goes
Cool.
A long time.
Awesome. So hello, Mindy. Mindy's another booktuber who focuses mostly on horror stuff. So
cool.
Yep. And go ahead. You can start.
I don't remember what I was
talking
going
about
to
some
say.
stuff.
Okay,
Here.
my experience with westerns is almost entirely revolves around John Wayne.
Yeah.
I didn't like Clint Eastwood when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten mostly past it, but and I think I've read like two westerns. Well, no, three considering Bloodletting.
Yes, you read Bloodletting. You've read a Louis L'Amour book.
Yeah, which was the Ferguson rifle.
The Ferguson rifle by Louis L'Amour. Which are you a fan of L'Amour?
I'm familiar. I'll have to check it out.
Okay, yeah, Louis L'Amour is about our favorite. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah, can you guys hear?
Yep.
Yeah, you sound great.
Cool.
Yeah, we want to make sure because sometimes our audio goes in and out because we live in the butthole of Georgia. So,
I'm pretty sure this is the armpit of America.
This might be the armpit.
You've got your colloquialisms messed up.
It's close enough. But bloodletting is unique in that it and I think I know why. It feels really cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
And is it true that this was a screenplay before it was a book?
So was Satanico as well.
Okay.
Satanico is kind of what started the whole horror western movement for me. It started out as a short film it's on Amazon Prime. It's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. It's a short 15-minute film that's a horror western, and that was the first idea that I had, and I did that, and it did really well, the film, and then I expanded that short script into a feature script, and then we were trying to get that made, and then COVID happened, and while we were kind of in between, one of my good friends, Shane Morrison, said, why don't you turn into a book? And you can kind of see in Titanica that it's basically just a novelized screenplay. It doesn't really expand on any of the ideas that are in the screenplay. And it's still a fun story, but it's definitely quick and not as in-depth as I would like. It's with Bloodletting, it's turned an 80-page, 300-page novel because I just really wanted to explore and build it and make it bigger and a wider world, basically. But Satanic started it all on those.
Yeah, we didn't make it known yet, but we have seen Satanico. I own it on Amazon. So
wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we enjoyed that, and man, that scene was very creepy. The one around the campfire with
towards the end with the deer head.
Yeah, towards the end with the skull, the deer skull. Oh my god!
Oh, that was creepy.
Great scene. Very cool.
All that fire was so dangerous, but probably not really. It was so wet. I don't think anything fire.
Was that shot in Utah as well?
Yeah, it was the opening shot where we're walking on a really flat spot. That's actually a frozen lake out here. So we were walking across the entire lake it's funny that campfire. Well, the trader is my friend Shane, who told me to turn it into a book. And so he's best friends, and we make movies together. And he's the one. So we did that, And yeah, that skull was pretty fun. That whole costume, all it was a ski helmet and a big black fabric, and then your skull drilled on it. But then you just put it on like, and then just pull the cloak over you. It was the easiest costume ever.
Okay, great.
Very, very cool. Very effective. It worked really well. The the way it looked like the neck was long and elongated and stuff. Very cool. Yeah.
And I was wondering if that was intentional. What the two main characters are walking through the woods and there's fire dripping from their torches as they're walking down. Like, wow, I wonder if that was on purpose.
It was a happy accident because we brought some fabric for the torches and then we went through it way too quick. And there was this abandoned mobile home there in the middle of nowhere, just a abandoned trailer that had this old moldy couch in it. And so we ended up just tearing that couch apart and using that for on the torches, but it dripped like none other. I still have a scar on my hand from it dripping right on my hand and burning me a little bit.
Ouch.
It was beautiful. A very happy accident.
But yeah, I read Bloodletting first. It's a much longer novel. At right about 300 pages, and very cool cover. But you've changed the cover just here lately.
Yeah, I was hearing that people didn't like the cover, so I changed it to something a little bit scarier, I thought.
Well, this cover, once you've read the novel, makes a lot of sense, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's cool is that picture is the actual place that inspired the book. That's a real place in Utah, that fort.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah, but it's not scary. What's kind of funny is when I was a kid, so that's at a campsite, like a scout camp, that fort out here, called Fort Buenaventura. You can Google it and you can see the fort and like the inspiration for it. But when I was a kid, I went there and they teach like how to start a fire with your hand, like with like flint and steel and tying up. Then last year, probably 2 years ago now, there's a pond there in front of the fort. And I was just fishing, just killing some time. And I looked at the fort and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that place. I was like, and then in my head, it just kind of thinking of like, what spooky kind of thing in there. And I was maybe being stuck in a blizzard would be kind of scary. And yeah, so it's pretty cool that it's an actual place, and I grew up going there on Scout.
Yeah, I really, really liked the location, that the book is about. It just seemed almost relatable in that we've seen places like this.
And heard stories like
heard
like
stories.
The beginning of it, at least the very Donner Party-esque.
Yeah, we've got places like that. We got places similar to that around here. Old abandoned mines, old forts, old abandoned houses. We live up near the mountains, and so we got a whole lot of stuff like that around here. So that is one thing that really made the book effective. Another was the characters were very well drawn out.
I want to read the synopsis real quick so people. Okay,
All
so.
Right.
This is the synopsis for this book for the folks watching. It says, caught in a blizzard, a handcart company desperately needs help, food, and supplies. They'll send ahead 3 men to seek assistance at an old army fort, only to discover that the fort is not only abandoned, but also locked from the inside. Through an unfortunate accident, one of the men becomes injured, requiring them to stay at the old fort. Over time, they'll piece together the horrendous history of this place and discover that not is all as it appears to be. That all is not as it appears to be. I almost made it.
Yeah, we had a great time with this. Like I said, she read it a long time after I did. But you want to go ahead and read one of your questions there?
Yeah, actually. Let's see. So
what?
You messed me up. The book deals. It mostly revolves around 3 characters. And they each have really, really different personalities, and they have to survive in this really wild, kind of crazy environment. What kind of research did you have to do for this book?
All kinds of random stuff. Like I love Western history and stuff, so I know different time periods and stuff of like when certain weapons or certain things would be, and certain things I had to Google, like it mentions the flag on top of the fort, and I never give an exact year, but you can figure out an approximation of when the book takes place based on how many stars are on the flag and based on some of the weapons. So like there's some Easter eggs I almost, for more Western aficionado people, like you can kind of piece together some clues to figure out what it is, but I don't think knowing exactly what it is would add anything to the story. So it kind of, I mean, it just happened in the Old West, and that's most of the audience, that's all they're going to need. But there's some clues in there for other people to figure out when it is. But the research, there's all kinds of stuff that I was like, well, okay, like I referenced blackjack at one part, and I'm like, when was blackjack invented? And I like Googled it, and it's like 1785. I'm like, okay, well, we're good there. And then there's this little here and there where I'm like, was that a thing yet? And then just Google it. But
the characters were believable. My favorite of all the characters was actually I'm the names are escaping me because it's been a little while since I read it.
Abraham,
but no, the young character.
Oh, what is it? Was it Caleb?
Caleb, is that right? Caleb.
What's that?
Caleb.
Sorry.
Caleb was one of the characters, right? We're trying to remember the young character's name. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Caleb, Abraham, and the guy I wanted to die. Buchanan.
Caleb reminded me a little bit of the young character from Lonesome Dove.
Not one or read that. Was it a book or movie?
Both. It's been like a 4-part movie, an 8-hour movie, and a 1,000-page book. Which I've got the book here somewhere, but I'm not sure where. Oh, here it is. Here's Lonesome Dove. It's got this awful sticker at the top that I can't get off, but it's by Larry McMurtry, and it's one of the biggest westerns, maybe the biggest western ever written.
It's a big one.
Oh,
but yeah, Caleb reminded me of a character in here named Newt, and I'm really excited about reading this book next month. I've seen the movie many times, but there's going to be a western themed reading event next month, and I'm going to definitely recommend these books because they would be perfect for the western read, especially especially if somebody's looking for something a little different.
Yeah, and I always thought that it seemed like that it just kind of felt natural to add kind of horror elements into it, because most of the western genre is heading out into unknown territory and the vast wilderness, so it seemed like a logical next step to run into things that go bump in the night out unknown.
Yeah,
like, we're on old pirate maps, like where the unknown was, it was here be monsters. It's just what they would put when they didn't know what was there.
Yeah, and it's always the same kind in westerns. It's always the same kind of villain. You've got like 2 different types of villain, and in Bloodletting and Satanico they're way different. So we enjoyed that. We liked it. We liked it. It's still very much a western. Both of these are still very much westerns, but at the same time, there are elements of it that are completely different. So
have you ever seen the movie Bone Tomahawk?
That's actually like seeing that. I saw that probably several years ago now. I think it came out in 2015.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I think I saw it 2016, and that kind of planted the seed for all the that spectacular movie, and then great book by the director of that one, and is called Wraiths of the Broken Land. If you've ever read that one.
Never read it.
It's by the director and writer of Bone Tomahawk. Because he was a writer first, I believe, S. Craig Zoller, and he started getting these novels made into films. I remember something like that. I'm not correct on that, but I know he wrote those. And then he got a foreword in that from Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell reads the foreword in Wraiths of the Broken Land. and
Oh.
it's not as supernatural as these ones, but it's more like Bone Tomahawk. It's grounded in reality and possibility. Like it seems like it could happen. Like there's definitely a lot more fantastical, far-fetched elements in these ones, but I loved Bone Tomahawk. That put a seed in that event in 2020 that I made that Satanica movie, because it just kind of snowballed in this idea of like, that was a Western and it was scary as hell.
Yeah.
I want to make it and scary as hell. How do I make my own version of that, basically?
You caught the dread really, really well. There were actually scenes in the book that reminded me of
the dread you felt in Bone Tomahawk.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's high praise. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah, we love Bone Tomahawk. I like it more than she does because it disturbed the hell out of Becky.
That movie messed me up.
Yeah, it messed her up for days. Especially the scene close to the end with the the splitting.
Yep.
it got her bad.
Yeah, that one. You think you know what you're in for, and then the coolest thing about one, there's so much good about it. Like the dialogue is enormously entertaining. Like just listening to dialogue, there's so much. It's just delicious, amazing dialogue. But when they run into the enemy, they get their ass kicked so fast, and how fast those things move, and how dangerous. Like that was. It didn't pander to making it like an action sequence or anything. It just made these things come out, kick ass, and basically decimate our heroes. And it just was like nothing I'd ever seen before. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was extremely unapologetic. It put everything right out there in front of the screen, and I watched the last quarter of that movie through my fingers.
Yeah, I think the first movie is David Arquette sawing someone's throat open. The very first shot of it.
Yeah.
They let you know.
Right. I forgot that was David Arquette.
Yeah, and Sid from House of a Thousand Corpses, Captain Spaulding. He's in it with David Arquette at the beginning.
Yeah. I'm a Sid Haig fan. I hate that he died a few years ago. That was sad. Yeah, we're actually, if you ever want to come on and talk Bone Tomahawk with us, we're gonna have a horror film channel that we're about to start this coming week. So we'd love to have you on to talk Bone Tomahawk with us if you ever want to come on and talk about it. So
I love that film. It's so cool.
You're gonna make me watch that movie again, aren't you?
Yes.
I think that one inspired. I mean, as far as movies that inspired, I think that one is definitely one of the big ones. And then with Bloodletting, what I kind of ended up with is it feels like to me, if I had to categorize it like as movies or whatever, it feels like if The Revenant and The Shining got mashed together is what I would call it. Kind of.
Yeah. You know something else that there were a couple of scenes in it that reminded me of a little bit. What was The Hateful Eight? The Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, we do too. Yeah,
well,
that's a great one.
It's the idea of people who are stranded together and you have no idea what any of them are capable of.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Yeah, she had a bad feeling about one of the characters from the very beginning.
I hated him from the very beginning. No, it's post-tip.
The Hateful Eight.
No, in Bloodletting.
Oh, really? Yeah, he's my favorite. That's my favorite character I've ever made. Like,
I bet he's fun to write.
He's great. He's great, and he's effective. He's just not exactly a sympathetic type character.
No, not at all. I think he's kind of like Negan in The Walking Dead. You love to hate him, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's probably loads of fun to write, and that's a really good segue, actually, for my next question. So, this character we're talking about, he's awful from the beginning, so I'm not giving any spoilers. His name's Buchanan. And all of them do some crazy crap in this book. It's just craziness. Did you ever balk at some of the things you were writing? Because there's some crazy viciousness going on in this book. Did you ever balk at some of the things you're writing or feel bad about some of the things you were doing to your characters, you crazy human being?
Yep. few parts where I wrote it, and I'm like, Jesus, I hope that's not too much. I hope people don't that. I think that it's fun to go to those extremes in some moments, because I'm a huge like movie passion or just storytelling, but like classic movies where it's a great story and there's always like one really shocking, messed up thing that you're gonna remember for years and years and years. Like, people have never seen The Exorcist, they know about the girl turning all the way around. They just know about it. And so that's kind of what I would remind myself of when I'm like, that is messed up that I'm putting that in here, but it might just be one of those things that people remember it.
That was my thought exactly, Kelly. But yeah, he likes the horror movies like that have that one really hard, shocking scene, and like Zombie by Lucio Fulci
or Suspiria, Dario Argento. We love Dario Argento and some of those, Italian horror films. They all have one scene that you will never forget in your entire life. At least one scene, one or two scenes.
Hereditary has a couple that are burned into my head.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The scene in the car. Oh my God. Yeah. I will never ever forget that scene.
When she's on the ceiling, smashing her head into the attic door over and over again.
Yes. Yeah.
that movie made that sound. It upsets me now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we like that. Midsummer has a couple of scenes like that as well. Yeah. Man, that first one though, whew, again, I'll never forget that. The cliff scene, those people jumping off that. That hill.
The guy in the bear suit, the carved out bear too.
Yeah. 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 There's some.
I don't handle that kind of violence well, but for some reason I love those movies. I have no idea why.
Yeah, we love those movies, like Bone Tomahawk. I mean, she likes it even though it bothered her.
I liked it till the last 15 minutes.
She'd still give it a high rating.
It was scary.
That's what makes some things fun. Like that's what makes some things fun. At least when I was a kid, there was always one really scary thing. And then if you made it through the movie, you kind of yourself, like for making it through. Like I always thought Indiana Jones, like some of those parts were really scary when he's going through all the caves and stuff. But then when you make it to the end of the movie without running away or anything, it kind of feels like you're proud of yourself. Like it's almost like you're part of the adventure for even the scary parts too. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was like that with the movie Poltergeist. I watched that movie entirely too young. I think I was 5 the first time I watched it. And I was traumatized. I was traumatized for life with clowns, but now I'm sit and enjoy every second of it. But yeah, I did feel proud getting through it the first time.
Yeah, and in Satanico, you were about to say a few minutes ago, I think, that your first scene in this movie was inspired by Bone Tomahawk, by the first scene of Bone Tomahawk.
Oh no, it was seeing Bone Tomahawk just snowballed into making a scary kind of Western. But no, I could see how that you could see that, because the first Satanico is pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it's gnarly, and I mean I can see maybe not in the way it was written, but in the brutality of the very first scene.
Mm-hmm.
I can see.
Man,
see
that
how,
first scene is relentless.
Yeah, it is in Satanico. It's very effective. And I wish you'd have had time to finish it. She will later, but
yeah, I'll read it. I'll finish
it. She barely got it started, and last night she's like, "Holy shit, this is rough." And I love that kind of thing to start a book. Keeps me reading.
It weeds out the people that the book's not for really quick.
Yeah. And this this is a one sitting read, and so I like this a lot. I kind of wish I'd saved it for it's called June on the Range. it's a Western, like I said, it's a Western themed reading event coming up next starting when? Starting on the 1st. So Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reading event starting on Tuesday, and so I'm going to see how many people want to read this and let them know it's out there.
Awesome.
Because we really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad that you liked it.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Steve is one of the larger booktubers out there. He's got a big channel. He's a book critic. We've been watching Steve. Steve was the very first booktuber I ever watched about
Cool.
3.5 years ago, I would say.
This is all new to me. I'd never done any of this before.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're very happy to have you here.
Well,
You are rounding out Horror Mayhem is what's going on.
cool.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interviews. Well, we've done 5 interviews, but they were just kind of whoever accepted first got the next spot and things like that, So yeah, we're glad to have you. And let's see. Yeah. And a question for you: do your friends know you're a horror author, and would they expect it?
Absolutely. I'm kind of known as the horror guy with my friends and family. That they'll see some sort. That's kind of the thing. If I'll be hanging out with my friends and like a movie trailer for something spooky comes on, they kind of all look at me like that's. And I'm always also just kind of talking because I get really excited about my stories. Like even when I just have a new idea, if I finished the book yet, I want to tell people about it. I'm like, then there's this guy and he doesn't like this guy, and then like they're gonna go at it, and I get really excited as my ideas come out, and I have to tell somebody, tell my friends or my family, like there's gonna be this really scene where this happens, and then it's all gonna compile into this, and so a lot of them do know and they're pretty used to it now.
Okay. And to go off of that question, what are you working on?
Working on something that's different. It's not a Western. There are some similarities in this one. It's big. It's a lot bigger. It's more ambitious. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. I'll just kind of improv this summary of what it's about. This long haul trucker goes to this. It's the most isolated town in America where there's this copper mine. And when he's delivering this drilling equipment, truck caves through into the mine out, but the oxygen in this cave-in is waking up something that's been buried there for a long time.
See, we have a copper mine in our area.
We live probably 15 minutes away from a very old defunct copper mine.
Cool.
And they closed it down because all of these pits started opening up in the back. There's like deep sinkholes.
Yeah.
And they were finding dead bodies.
Wow.
in the sinkholes, and it's widely believed to be haunted. The whole area. They actually had to fence off the entire area because people would go back there and they'd get hurt because the copper mines are right in front of a big river.
Mm-hmm.
The Chattahoochee, right? Or is it Chastity?
It's the Chastity River. The Chastity connects to the Chattahoochee. And people would fall in because they'd get drunk, or they'd get stuck in the back of the mines.
I've seen the mine, but I haven't been able to go in. We've just kind of seen it from the road.
And I write, like there's one here too in Utah. Just like I kind of write what I know and what I am around and what I can visualize. And there's a giant copper mine. The mountains, a giant portion of the mountain that's just owned by the Kennecott Copper Company. And the truck falls through. This guy gets everything seems okay, and it's a small town. So everybody's talking about this new sinkhole open in there, and then wakes up that's been down there for a long time, and it ends up the town gets cordoned off and strange stuff to happen.
Fun.
Yep. But
I'm here
Steve
for it.
Steve has a good question
I
here.
missed it.
Says
Another
what,
question, I might have missed
go
it
ahead.
earlier in the chat. What went into JR's decision to go the indie route? Did he attempt the traditional routine of pitching to mainstream agents?
I didn't, just because I still consider myself a hobbyist in novel and writing in prose. Um, I mostly do acting. I'm at my acting agent's office right now because I was doing an audition upstairs and I had to hurry and come down here. I kind of snowballed into this because I did the Satanico short and I wrote a screenplay, and we were funding for it, and Shane, my friend Shane, said to why not make it into a book, and then maybe you can get a fan, and maybe we'll have an easier time making the movie eventually. And then from there it snowballed into Bloodletting because I wrote Satanico and it became this really bigger thing. It needs a bigger budget, and then I was like, well, I want a scary Western still. How can I write one that's literally the cheapest I can write it but still tell a good story? I'm like, one place, just a couple characters stranded, and then that it turned into just this really cool story when I was just trying to write the cheapest movie to make possible.
Okay.
It's all movies, Steve. It's just movies. Well, my favorite pastimes is driving Steve crazy. So, what prompted you to start writing movies? Is that your preferred medium is movies over books, or?
It's definitely what I know the most, and it's a little bit easier, at least with screenplays that you're making yourself. When you're pitching it to someone, a lot of standards and stuff, but when I'm the one making or writing it to someone I know who's gonna like that I know that they're gonna make it, I know that I can write it in a way that they'll understand. When with a book, you have to write it and make sure it's understandable for anyone who might pick it up. It's with a screenplay, it's just the blueprint. Only a handful of people are going to see it, or you see it, like the majority of people are going to see it and tweak and watch and do it. And I kind of have disjointed ideas sometimes, and so it's difficult for me. But this one really came together, kind of turned into a thing that I was expecting. Like there's several instances in the book that aren't in the screenplay that I'm add them into the screenplay now, but they came out while I was writing the book. I'm like, this would be really cool. Like, what about it? What about this? And there's several key points in the book that are awesome, and I wouldn't take them out, and they're not even in the screenplay. I was writing the book, and they just came to me.
Yeah, that's craziness.
I'm writing a hobbyist, so you're writing your book now. So did you catch? Yeah, I think I did, and also it's been encouraging. Satanico didn't really get anything with. It came out. I don't even know when it came out. 2021 maybe, so a year and a half ago. But it didn't really get any attention. Didn't really get much of anything. The movie did a lot. Little short film, and then writing this one and just hearing how much people love it and how much they love it, how cool I think it is, and then just kind of that's encouraging because I didn't think I could do that, like make one that everybody really likes. But like some of my family's read it that aren't horror people, and they really like the book, and it's been encouraging. I'm like, well, maybe I can do it again, but we'll see.
You wrote some extremely convincing bad guys.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I liked. Let's see, which one was it? The Talker was actually my favorite villain from the book. Very very well made. And man, the guy just has no conscience.
No.
And I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm used to reading a lot of psychological thrillers and stuff, and there's always somebody without a conscience in those books. I mean, having a conscience and then them still doing it can be scary too. But I mean, you got somebody without a conscience, and you're looking at the Joker.
You have to have a chaotic evil person at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we had a question from
Nikki?
Nikki today.
Nikki DeCaster. She's an author as well.
Okay.
She wrote the Spiral, and
Yeah, she was
she's a
wanting to know.
friend.
She wanted to know if you'd ever played. What was the name of that game? It's a Western role playing game.
Like a board game?
Yeah. Well, like a sort of a table. I think it's a tabletop RPG, but I think they've also got a video game.
I can't look it up on my phone.
No, you can't look it up.
I can't believe you failed to remember.
I did. I failed, Nikki. Sorry.
Oh,
If you send it to me, I'll check it out. I'd love to learn how to play tabletop games. I just don't have a lot of friends that have a lot of free time. Like me and all my friends are so busy all the time. I'd love to learn how to play D&D and have friends that we could play it every week, but I have no idea how to play it. Nobody I know would know how to teach me.
Well, maybe we can play on Zoom sometime. We
That'd
would.
be fun.
We would
I'd love
Yeah,
to play it.
we would love that. Yeah, we would love that. Yeah. Fit to be read. It's not the Oregon Trail. I promise.
none of these helps. I looked up, but we'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, you can't look at my Facebook.
Nope. So what are your writing habits? That even when you just sit down to write a screenplay, do you do an outline first to like plan everything out meticulously, or do you let your characters run away with you?
I usually have a basic blueprint. One method that I do, I believe it's called the clock exercise, where you'll draw a circle and you'll do 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and are you guys familiar with this one already?
I'm not.
I am.
Okay, she is. Well, she's been to
Basically-
college for writing, so.
Sections of different sections of the clock are acts of the film or acts of the story, and you have your main. I'll have like an idea, and I'm like, okay, here's where it starts. Maybe this will be the second, and then they'll end up here somehow, and then I'll start with that, and then I also usually have separate character notes for backstory and other things too. And I'll have a handful of blueprints, and then sometimes I'll start writing. Half of that can go out the window because it just doesn't translate. But as far as that, I usually have a pretty good idea of it, and then sometimes I have to scrap it because I get a better idea, or the one I thought was good sucks.
And the act it's very reminiscent of the heroes journey.
Okay.
Okay. Except it breaks up your story into the different parts.
Yeah, it helps you set up subplots too and have them pay off later, and have different. It's a cool way to structure them, and just lots of notes. Yeah, just lots. And I have so many just basically book or story ideas in my notes, and it's just like scrawlings of a madman. I'll get an idea like this guy does this, and then this person goes over here and crashes. And then sometimes I'll read them the next day. I'm like, what in the hell am I talking about? I'll find the occasional gold nugget in all the garbage, but.
Did you do anything for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, or which is usually November? I don't know if you wrote any of your stuff then, or.
Bloodletting last year, so I think it's funny because I almost didn't finish the book. I started it and I wrote about 3 chapters and I didn't touch it for months. And then I came back and wrote another chapter, and then something just caught, and I'm like, ooh, I like this story again. And then I blasted through it and finished it in February. And so it was cool. But I believe I was writing in November, but I wasn't doing it consciously.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you ever written anything that surprised even you, something you weren't planning that just sort of fell onto the page?
Yeah, there's some things where I'll read it later and realize it's more honest with myself than I am consciously. It's like I'll write something that a character's thinking, or a critique of something crappy that a character does, and I'm like, well, you do that. You have this bad thinking pattern, and you've never been able to criticize yourself well enough, and then you just did it, and So there's some things where it's very poignant for me personally. I'll be like, that I like that a lot more than I didn't like it. A throwaway line yesterday. Now that rings really important for me.
All right.
You're your own therapist.
Yeah, and Kelly's got a good question. Do you hire an editor, or do you do your own editing?
I did it myself. I'd love to hire one because I do not like editing and I don't trust my eyes. I went through Bloodlet 4 separate times, line by line, just to make sure I never missed anything. And even I might have missed something, but
not that I can remember. If anything was missed, it didn't call attention to itself.
Yeah, I didn't come across anything that caught my attention too hard.
I just don't have the money to pay an editor what they'd be worth. Something I'd be comfortable asking a professional, like someone who's putting a lot of time. Me, I'm still kind of hobbyist book, and I still wouldn't be comfortable working for free, and I'm not comfortable asking an editor to work for I know that they're worth. And so I just can't afford it. And so that's the only reason is I do it myself. And then once I can, first thing I'm going to do is hire somebody there, but because I do not like editing.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of information. If you get in touch with your local college, like your local university, and let their writing or English department know that you're an author, you don't have a whole lot of money to pay somebody to edit your books, but you would love to give somebody the opportunity to edit your books. A lot of students will jump on that face first, just to put it in their resume.
Yeah, Becky would know that. She
I've done it.
Yeah, she's done it. She went to college for it. So.
Yeah, thank you. That's extremely helpful.
Yeah, I remember I have a master's degree in professional writing, and we used to get emails all the time of professors saying this author cannot pay you anything, but he has a book and he's published, just so you know. And everybody's like, well, I want to do it. I'll do it. And free books.
Yeah, I never wanted to, just because I didn't have the money, I never wanted to ask someone to work for less than they're actually worth. And somebody wrote something.
Yeah, Steve's got a great one here.
It's very true. Well, I'm glad you think I'm nice.
Yeah, Steve is a professional book critic. He's been doing it for a very long time, and is probably the most prolific book critic in the entire world.
Wow. And
yeah.
He's watching me ramble on about silly things.
And he thinks you're nice. This is a great thing.
Yeah.
So, one thing I really, really enjoyed about Bloodletting is I really, really enjoyed the layout. At the beginning, at the very beginning of the book, the scene is this camp full of these very, very desperate people. And the way the book is laid out, there are a lot of page breaks, if you can see that. And it was very, very reminiscent of a screenplay. And I knew when I started that it was a screenplay to begin with, and it had been fleshed out. And
it had been expanded.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Not fleshed out. It had been expanded. Oh, I see what you mean. Never mind. Shit.
And for some reason, that layout really, really added a cinematic feel to the book. What I want to say is, don't change it.
Oh, thank you. I was hoping that people would like it, because I don't know. I was doing it and it just felt right. Like there's actions and what is it? Action words. What is it, like? Pow, bang, click, whatever.
Onomatopoeias.
Onomatopoeias. That's it. Couldn't remember it. But there's moments where it's like onomatopoeia, enter, tap. Like it just felt like it flowed more, and it was more engaging. And I'm like, this is different, and we'll see if people actually like this. So I'm really glad that you like it, because I was like, maybe it will. And then it just felt like it needed a page break. It felt like I needed it to, like, people to basically live in that silence for a minute of that extra space or whatever.
And but it also, in a way, it made the book read faster. Like,
Really?
and yeah, and I enjoyed that. You'd think maybe with a page break, somebody would, take a little break in their head or something, but it doesn't happen like that at all. It flows really well. And we enjoyed that.
And JR, you're going to have to admit to like drowning kittens or kicking puppies.
Oh.
So just to make Steve feel better.
Kidnapping
like-
Lindbergh, baby.
I'm the big pussy when it comes. I don't like to hurt anything. Like I used to go hunting when I was younger, and I just did it because my dad did it and my dad's friends did it. Now I don't like to kill anything. Like I used to go duck hunting, but now I'll like if there's a moth, like by the light, I'll catch him and go let him go outside.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah,
like-
well, except Steve that before we started, he admitted to hating miniature schnauzers.
Who
Hated
did?
miniature schnauzers. How
You
awful.
did. No,
You totally admit to hating miniature schnauzers. We know you did. Own it.
I'm the biggest sucker for dogs. Like I will audibly go. I'll be driving somewhere. I'll see a dog, and I'll audibly go by myself in the car, like, "Oh, the dog!" Like, even
yeah, we got a little dog right under us. We'll get him out before the interview's over here. He's a Boston Terrier.
So we did a whole page. So
I'm sorry.
yeah, you were talking about onomatopoeias, and that's actually one thing. It's not even onomatopoeias.
I'm having trouble hearing you guys right now.
Oh,
Are we sounding tinny?
It sounds really tinny. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know why this happens, so we just move closer to the camera when it does.
We'll just yell at the screen.
Okay.
Dang it.
Yeah, it'll probably stop eventually, but for some reason it does this like at least every other video. So
Well, no worries. I didn't know if you guys heard it too.
no, we don't. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Once again, it's because we live in the armpit of the nation.
yeah.
But you have one thing that you have in your arsenal, in your toolkit as a writer, is you have the pauses down pat.
Oh.
There's something that storytellers are told very early on is to embrace the pause.
Yeah.
And that's like you're talking about, right? Yeah, here we go. There's a scene where you'll just have
Nothing.
one-word sentences that make the entire scene, and they draw the reader right into the scene, and they keep their attention right all the way through. And you do that very well.
Well, thanks. I am just kind of doing it. I guess I just did it. I'm kind of trying to make a movie with paper. I guess I'm just like I'm kind of writing it how I picture it would be on a movie, and so that's probably why that happened. I guess how I did that.
Well, I love a good cinematic novel. And I just read a book, just finished it, a book that I really didn't care for. And it's the second time I've read it. I wanted to make, the first time I read it, I was a kid and I enjoyed it, but it was Sphere by Michael Crichton. Now,
Okay.
while that is very cinematic, and you can kind of see the movie on the page, I preferred Bloodletting over Michael Crichton's book,
Wha-
Sphere, by a
What?
bunch. And it was, well, you didn't go about dumbsplaining things as much as Michael Crichton does. Michael Crichton has a whole lot of just kind of ridiculous ticks and weird things happen that Bloodletting just doesn't have. So
I
I
didn't
enjoyed Bloodletting a lot.
I didn't expect cheered above Michael Crichton, and I don't feel sure that.
Are we still sounding tinny?
Still a little bit. I can still hear you guys.
Did that help at all?
It's still the same, but it's okay.
Okay. All right. As long as people can hear us, I guess we're okay.
We'll just let Steve ask the questions.
Yeah. What about the mental shift from writing a screenplay to writing a novel? And a friend of mine used to say that if he wrote one sober, he had to write the other drunk. Was the shift tough for you?
What's funny is just the last line of that question. I the best writing I had on Bloodletting, I was about 3 or 4 beers deep, and I would just and I don't know, it's just like that, but it definitely is a change because with a book, it's almost like just naked words. People can see everything. With the screenplay, it's a blueprint. You can't have something. It's like, you know, building a house. You have a hole in the wall here. You can't patch it over. With the book, everybody can see everything. There's no patching over anything. And so if you didn't explain something right or you picked the wrong word, screenplay, I can, you know, I pick one adjective and then that people understand the gist of it. It works. With the book, I'm like, did I go too fancy on this word? Is this a poor descriptive term for this? Is this a reach here for this analogy? But it's definitely a lot more laid bare with whatever creative choices you have. No fixing it after you put it out or after, you know, it's definitely a different beast for sure.
Do you have a preference as to which one to write?
As far as which one's more rewarding, books are definitely, because screenplays, it's just such a tough business. So I have tons of screenplays written, never see the light of day. A lot of them probably never will. Books, they take a lot longer and they're a lot harder, but at least I'm the only one stopping me from letting people read that. There's nobody else in my way letting people read my story with a book. It's just me putting in the work, telling the story and giving it and putting it out there. Screenplays are a lot more with anybody ever seeing it. And when the indie route, I can say, yep, that's what I want. That's good. Screenplay, there's going to be about 10 people that are going to cut, paste, flip, turn a million things. It could be a completely different thing by the end. And that's something I'm okay with that because I work in that industry. I just know how folly and fickle the entertainment industry is, and that it just doesn't, you can't hold on to it too tight. And so it's fun being in the indie kind of thing where I'm my own boss with what I get to say, and nobody can tell me what in that version. So it's fun with that.
You have to give up a lot of your control when you're submitting your screenplay.
Yeah.
By the time it makes it to the screen, your main character is named Chad and he has a man bun.
Yeah. Even just shorts too. Like there's shorts that I'll make with my friends and they'll have input, and where we're making them just for free with each other. Where like our personal projects, like I'm going to listen to them because we're all coming collectively together to make this. And like whoever's at the top, they can say yes or no, but like you actually do have a lot of other input in it. Where book, you're basically just by yourself. Hope this is good. Hope this is good. All right. Hope people like it. It's not as collective where like it's like that idea sucks. Here's a better brainstorm, and it's just I don't know. They're both different. And I love both of them.
Okay.
So you were in there's a 14-minute video that you and your friends did.
Yeah.
And you can actually get it on on Amazon.
Yeah, I bought it on Amazon Prime.
It's also on YouTube. It's a little bit harder to find on YouTube, but it is on there. I like Amazon because it streams at top quality because there are very pretty shots in there that I'm very proud of. But we put it on YouTube so anybody can watch it. But sorry, continue, Becky. Yeah,
I was spaced out. You were one of the actors in the short movie. Do you find that you really enjoy the acting as much as the writing, or is your heart right there with the writing instead?
I love acting is probably one of my favorite things to do. I like writing because I have a lot of stories to tell. I kind of felt like kind of a douche putting myself in my own movie in that one, but I really only did it because I had to do some dangerous stuff in that movie. I didn't want to ask anybody else to do it. Like I got influenza for a week after I went to that water in January. Like
I was wondering about that. You dragged this character through like a little stream.
And I was and you slipped at one point. I was like, that is a goddamn ankle breaker. That has got to hurt.
There was a few, and then there's one where the guy grabs me and throws me across the camp. I just basically just dove into it and just did that. But I didn't want to ask anybody else to do that. I was like, I want these shots. I'll do it because I don't want to ask someone else to jump into a river in January. And I don't want to ask someone else to, pull a sled while holding a flaming torch in their hand. And I was like,
a flaming torch that's actively disintegrating as you walk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is super dangerous. I had my friends doing it. Some of the stuff, they did a couple things. I don't think anything they did was super crazy. Aiden had to get, but he didn't go head first. He was playing my co-star in it, like the other cowboy, my friend.
Yeah.
And he got wet, but he didn't get head to toe wet. I think I just dragged through. His legs got wet, but I had to go all the way in, and then I had to run. It took me about 7 minutes to sprint back to the car, like full sprint, and it was fun. It was so sunny and so nice. And then I went in there, get out, immediately cloudy and windy. I was like,
I needed pre-planning, JR.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Steve,
I was going to ask this question, Steve. Sort of. What are your writing habits? Especially with writing. Well, no, I asked about the outlining stories meticulously, but
okay.
do you sit down to write every single day without fail, or do you write as it strikes you? Or like get up in the middle of the night and write in the notebook?
I usually do when I'm like, I let go of bloodletting for a few months. And then when I came back to it, I refused to not let myself at least write something at least once a day. This new longer book, it has been old for a minute. This last year, I've got divorced. I've been moving. I have a new job, and it's finally about to settle back down. But lately, I have to confess I haven't been able to work on it as much, and I do wish that I have been able to. But once I get going on something, and I'm very excited about it, I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted, but no matter what, I'm writing this. But just due to circumstance, time this year, I just haven't been able to do that with this one. But normally, yeah, I even if like some days I'm more lax on it, I'll work like a 9-hour day, and I'm like, okay, just write 2 pages and you're good, or just write a page and a half, just write something. And that I make myself do that. This last one, it's just been a hell of a year so far.
It really has.
Sounds like yours has been even more hellish.
No, people that got it way worse off than me. I've been a little mentally drained. I can't complain too much. I have a place to live. I have a job. It's just been a lot of anxiety, and I haven't had a lot of time to pretend to be in a different and figure out a new story. But I'm going to get back to it. I'm almost there.
So, this is a question I really like to ask authors. Are you a reader outside of your writing?
I am. I love reading. I lately I've been gravitating towards audiobooks because it's a lot easier for me to get through them because I drive a truck for a living, and so I just put them in my ear and I can sit down and read several chapters. I'm just gonna 1 second. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Out of here, Antonio. Okay, sorry. I just don't want to. Okay. Sorry, no rush for time. I just have a guy that's gonna be locking up when he's all loaded out, but I want to make sure I'm not keeping anyone, basically.
Oh,
so
okay. Okay.
I'm just trying to balance everyone's time today, and I feel bad because I have this obligation with you guys, but we're fine right now. We're fine. And
okay.
I just want everyone to feel like their time is valued, basically.
Okay.
But the question I can remember. What was it again?
Are you a reader outside of being a writer?
Yeah, audiobooks. I love them. I rarely get the time to sit down and read. Finally, I recently read Pet Sematary for the first time. It's crazy that it took me this long, but I was super proud because I finished it all only hard copy. Because a lot of books, I'll have the hard copy and the audiobook. I'll read the hard copy maybe once a week, and then I'll listen to the audiobook, and then I'll get like to the weekend, and I'm like, now I can read. I chapter and then I'll find it. But audiobooks, I can fly through them. But I love books. I love reading. I not so much as I used to be when I was younger, just because of time. But I still love books. They're still just fun.
Oh
Yeah,
man, with
go ahead.
with Stephen King, I have to do the audiobooks, especially with the chunkers. I cannot sit through 200 pages of introducing every single character who ever lived in this town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like that. Yeah, he is definitely heavy-handed. I like his stuff though that builds it. But yeah, no, the audiobooks definitely help. I never would have gotten through The Stand if it wasn't for.
Yeah, I got through The Stand eventually after my third attempt, and I still hate it.
I think that's one of my favorite books of all time. I just love that book. I don't know about it. It's just so enjoyable. It feels so like all the characters feel like real people. Like you'll sometimes just like think about, well, I wonder what they're doing now. They're not real, but they just feel so real.
Yeah, we get that a lot. People either absolutely love The Stand or they hate it. There's no in between. There's no it's okay. But yeah, I had to listen to it all 44 hours.
That's what I'm reading now. I'm reading it right now, and then another one called Stolen Tongues that's been getting a lot of hype.
Yeah, Felix, can't remember his last name.
I just barely started it a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't gotten back to it yet. I read the first couple chapters, and I really like what I read so far, but it's been crazy couple weeks.
Yeah. I've heard great things about Stolen Tongues, like really great things about it.
I like it so far. I'm only a couple chapters in.
Yeah. So far, we've been really lucky in that the people that we booked for interviews, we really liked what they wrote. We've really we've been really lucky because we've had 5 interviews, and we got some of the better independent horror authors writing right now. Even though some of them are not, are not some of the most popular independent authors, but at the same time are just as gifted and just as talented. So yeah, this has been great.
Well, I'm glad to be included in that impressive roster. I'm glad to be considered with other people. Like, cause I just like to tell stories that I think people will like, and be compared to, authors like that, talented people like that is just amazing. I'm just happy to and kind of geek out on books and movies with you guys. Be actually compared with like very talented people is really cool.
Yeah. We like to we do like to compare, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, sure.
That's something all readers do. This is compared to that, that's compared to something else, and all of that. And I'm just really surprised that where independent horror is right now. Independent horror is in a great place right now.
It sure is.
And we're on that Books of Horror Facebook page, which I think is huge, and it's wonderful.
I got turned on to that group randomly from somebody on Instagram because they were asking for book recs, and I was like, I was like, hey, check out Bloodletting, and then they're like, I think this group on Facebook really liked this, and so I went and found it and found the coolest horror community I've ever found.
Yeah,
it's a great community. It really is.
Yeah, it's like 25,000 subscribers now, I think, and there are probably 50, 60 posts a day in that thing. I mean, it's pretty constant.
Yeah, and they read everything. It's not just wall to wall Stephen King and Bentley Little. It's everything.
Yeah,
and there's one that was going around the other day on there that was like, just everybody has the coolest little like niche knowledges about different things. Like, it's like, well, I want a book where a Civil War lizard fights Abraham Lincoln on top of the Eiffel Tower. They're like, well, boy, do I have one for you. Like,
yeah. You can find anything you're looking for with those people. It's amazing.
Yep.
And I would say a good 10% of the people in there are authors, probably. I mean, there are a lot.
There's so many. Crazy.
Yeah, really good authors in there, and these are people who, most of them, they just prefer to self-publish. They haven't, most of them have not tried the traditional route of publishing. So
I haven't. I just put these ones out mostly because I don't think I'm like, okay, maybe a handful of people will read these. I just didn't ever try it, and so far it's fine. It hasn't been like flying off the shelves. I've been selling some, and mostly the thing I'm happy about is just the reviews. Like people like really like it, and
yeah.
and that's just been so rewarding. And just something silly that I pulled out of there, and people are like, "This was so much fun!" And it's just so cool to hear.
I'm sure. I'm so sure that's loads of fun. All right, I'm going to ask my favorite question. What's your favorite book?
Favorite book? I've been on a Stephen King binge recently. Just reading one time and also rereading one now that I'm older, so I can appreciate them more. Because I read a lot of them when I was younger and didn't grasp it fully. But I love The Shining. I think The Shining is one of the best horror books of all time.
Yeah, so does Beck.
The Shining gave me the biggest scare of any book I've ever written. It's the topiaries.
Yep, the topiaries are creepy as hell.
I have a very, very big issue with objects moving that shouldn't be moving.
Yeah.
And
I think the part that scared me the most in that one is when Danny crawls down into that tunnel to the ground and it's completely pitch black on the other side and he starts to hear something. I was like, no.
Don't do it, Danny. Don't do it.
The first adult book I ever read was Pet Sematary. You were talking about how you just read that. I read that thing when I was 12 years old, and it messed me up a little bit. But it was funny. We went to a Baptist school. I was raised Pentecostal, but we went to a Baptist school, and I got in serious trouble for bringing Pet Sematary. That's a story I like to tell. I got in trouble.
I was reading Fear Street at 12 years old. You're reading Pet Sematary.
Yeah, and actually after 12 years old, when I read Pet Sematary, I never went back to another like young person's novel. I just kept going with adult novels, and I mean, a lot of people have that story, but
yeah, I went from R.L. Stein to the Belgariad, so it's
yeah.
Probably one of the more adult ones I read when I was younger was Misery. I think I was like 14 and I read Misery.
Oh, yeah.
That one was good. That was a scary one.
Yeah, Misery is pretty disturbing.
Oh, mess you up. I've never actually read it. I've seen the movie though. I wish I had.
Like it. I actually like the book. But I mean, I think the movie is just as good. Really, Kathy Bates was amazing in that movie.
Some of the descriptions I think are what make that one for me. Like, one thing that's always stuck with me is the squeal. He's like squeal of the axe on his bone or something as she pulls it out. Something, and I was like,
yeah.
No.
You have any more questions
God.
there? Oh, and one other thing. This is a scene from the movie. In case anybody watches the movie, and this looks familiar because I was watching the movie and I was like, hold on a second, I've seen that picture.
Yes.
And then I got that out and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I am so slow on the uptake.
It's been really cool to be able to put stuff that I've grown up with into these fictional worlds. Like Fort Buenaventura, you can Google it, and that's Fort Preston. That's the place that I was fishing at last summer or something, and like just started getting the idea for it, and it just kind of snowballed. And Pine View, like the Annika movie where we're walking on top of Trapper's Loop, which is this really high mountain pass in Utah, then kind of by Snow Basin. And I just drove over that countless times growing up, and now we're trekking across it in Western gear for a little silly movie, and just cool. It's just kind of cool how you can put all these things that are important to you and from growing up, all these little fun things, insert them in places.
Yeah. Oh, you okay?
Oh yeah, we're good.
She almost pulled something off a
Wait.
shelf here.
Oh,
She's trying to get her little dog so we can show him to you.
He's not listening.
But he's not listening. We might just have to send you a picture.
okay. I'll send you my dog too.
What's that?
I'll send you a picture of my dog.
Oh, okay.
What's that thing you see on Facebook? Let's just make it clear. I never not want to see your dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, we do love the dogs. But yeah, I think it's interesting that you're writing westerns because there are so few western writers left. There's just not that many people who are still writing westerns, and I hate that because I love the genre.
It's like just kind of it's sacred ground for me. You know, I grew up. It was kind of my first introduction to movies and they're also tied to a lot of very fond memories of watching westerns with my dad on the couch and just and then just the spectacle of them. Westerns will always be very near and dear to my heart. So it's cool that I could put two entries that can be considered parts of that genre. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My grandpa was into westerns, and that's the reason I used to stop every time we would go to Sykeston, Missouri, this little town where they lived. I would stop at a little used bookstore and buy him westerns and take them to him. And he was, and he'd always sit there and probably read. I'd spend a week there. He'd probably read a dozen of them while I was there. Just loved westerns, and that's what got me nostalgic about westerns. There's very few things I'm nostalgic about, but reading a western is one of them, or watching a western movie that him and we used to watch the old B westerns together.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. The Randolph Scott movies and stuff like that. I just loved them. So.
Randolph Scott.
Yeah, I know that they're special to me. I know they're special to a lot of people, and so it's really cool to just be part of that. And in little limited capacity that I am to just tell a Western story and put that into the catalog of all those because it's just very special. I wanted to make my own.
Yeah. It's they have a very, very distinct Western feel to them.
Yeah. I would say Satanico has the most of the Western feel. They both do. They both feel like Westerns.
Hi. Should I out now? Hi. Are you looking for Antonio?
Yeah. Well, not really, but I heard he was here.
I think he's upstairs. I'm sorry.
I'm Mark.
I've met.
You ever been to the Sykeston Library?
Totally fine.
And I don't know if I know everybody. Because social media's rude. How's it going?
Sorry, guys. I'll wrap up.
No problem.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm just using borrowed space here, but
No. We can wrap here in a second anyway.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that we really enjoyed your book. We want everybody to go out and get it. Go ahead.
Where can we find your book? Where can people watching find your stuff and find you?
Just Amazon is the only place for the books. Just Satanico and Bloodletting, and you can find me Instagram JR Curtis Actor and JR Curtis on Facebook. Feel free to add me. I usually add everybody, and if you have any if you like the book or have any questions, if you want to just talk about stuff, just shoot me a message. I'll usually get to it. Well, thank you so much, guys, for having me on. It was a blast just talking with you. And
thank you for joining us. We had a great time.
We've enjoyed this entire month. Horror Mayhem has been great. We appreciate you coming on. This is the last of our Horror Mayhem interviews.
And it's a great interview to round it out, I think.
It was really good.
It's awesome to be part of it, and thank you guys so much for having me and considering me and for reading my books and just I'm so happy that you enjoyed them and taking the time to read that I made, and just that's so cool in itself.
And like I said, we're going to be recommending them next month for June on the Range. So hopefully more people will read it. And I mean, they're books that I have no trouble recommending. I really enjoy them. I think a lot of other people will too. So, yeah.
Well, thanks so much, guys. I just appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. You have a good evening.
You too. See you guys.
All right, bye.